Hello and
Hello.
welcome. This is PTZOptics Live. You have found yourself at our pre-show podcast. Welcome.
Thanks for joining, everybody. Yeah, you can see the live stream's going to start in just 20 minutes, roughly. And we wanted to start a little early to talk about the show and what we're gonna be going over today.
Yeah, we are live every last Wednesday of the month at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And we just kicked off our podcasting again.
Yeah, we got the podcast all set up. So I was going to give Tess the opportunity to ask as many questions as she'd like about Dante. And I think we might even have, we are going to have some Dante experts joining us too.
We do. We have Catherine of Audinate joining us today for our official live stream, which will start in a few moments. But if we want to bring Kat on now and just to chat a little bit about what we're going to talk about today, that would be great.
Awesome.
You there, Kat?
Yeah, I am here.
Is it Catherine or Kat? Because I keep calling you Kat. I've kind of
Oh,
coined a
yeah,
nickname
no,
for you.
Cat's fine. Usually that's what I go by, so that's fine.
Okay. I think I've
With
heard it
Cat.
in meetings over and over. So now
Yeah,
it's caught
yeah.
on.
It's just written. I always write my name. I like writing Y's, so.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, of course.
Can you tell us a little bit
Excited.
about your role with Audinate?
Sure. So I'm the product marketing manager for networked video. So I look after all of our networked video technologies that we come up with that we sell to manufacturing partners like yourselves at PTZOptics, as well as any software products that incorporate video like Dante Studio, which we'll talk about later today.
Awesome. How did we
Yeah.
come together with Audinate? Paul, do you recall the
Yeah, it's
beginning?
so funny because our company does come from a pro AV background,
Mhm.
and a lot of our engineers were really really excited when Audinate said that Dante is now going to have a video side of the world. Many of our engineers and professional audiovisual integrators that we work with are very familiar with the Dante tools in the world of audio, whether that is setting up an audio conferencing system in an audio, video conferencing space, or whether that's setting up a, IP audio system in a, live event space, like whether it's an auditorium, something along those lines. We have, a lot of the people we work with are very familiar with Dante, but Dante with video is new. And so at PTZ Optics, we're really excited to have one of the very early, Dante enabled PTZ cameras that's going to bring video into the Dante world. And we've actually got a whole setup here to show it. And Catherine has been so nice helping us kind of onboard our team, make sure everyone in our organization understands the ecosystem in which, PTZ Optics cameras are now a part of. So thank you for all that, Catherine.
Yeah, definitely the presentation we have today is really about the ecosystem that Dante AV is joining. So that's very exciting.
So maybe, because I think we're going to turn this into a podcast. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the history of Audinate, so that we can kind of understand where you're coming from? I understand it's an Australian company and it's led
Oh, I
with
didn't know that.
IP technology for the Pro AV production
Yeah.
space.
So Audinate's pretty cool. It's an Australian company. A lot of the founders, the current CEO, Aiden, is one of the founders. Basically, they worked on networking technology with Motorola way long ago. And then when they closed their Australian office, they kind of spun off into their own kind of company with some like initial research from the Australian government. And then once they kind of had a product developed, were able to create Audinate. So it's really people that were network engineers, but also had a real passion for audio. I found out that a lot of them had worked as recording engineers or played instruments, which was pretty cool. I found out that the CEO played trumpet at one point. And so that was really cool. And then, we really started it as something for the live events and that sort of thing, because that's where you're getting like, I don't want to have to drag that giant analog cable to plug in all my devices. If I do everything on the network, it's a tiny little cable. I can send up to like 512 channels of audio across that cable. And then previous solutions that were on the market didn't really take full advantage of the network, or they had really high latency that wasn't acceptable for live events, because you want to be able to like hear yourself back really quickly. when you're monitoring yourself on stage, it's kind of like totally different than video in that way. So yeah, so that's kind of where we started. And then the network effect took over. We're at like over 500 manufacturing partners and over 3,500 products on the market. So those are from all different verticals, from your classrooms, where we're seeing a lot of people installing systems to help with hybrid education, where we have like ceiling microphones installed, as well as to be able to capture the whole room. Broadcast is interested in using Dante, as well as commercial install for like meeting rooms. I've worked on projects at convention centers, just kind of ended up everywhere, just really expanding beyond that initial live events vertical for sure.
We just installed our own Dante audio ceiling microphone system in our own conference room here. So that's been interesting to see it implemented, and also helpful for us, as this is sort of a new world to me, at least the audio side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting with Dante it's been around for so long, but a lot of times you can walk into a conference space and it's kind of invisible, in the sense that, you know, there's microphone ceilings, speakers or something, ceiling microphones, but you walk into a lot of spaces and it's meant to be seamlessly integrated into the environment. And, you know, in our conference room is so much better now. We've got a really great beamforming Yamaha, you know, and everyone can hear us properly, and we can hear everybody else properly, and there's no echo problems, but there's no like sign that says Dante is here. Mm-hmm. It's just in the space.
It is one of those weird things. Like, we're definitely a company that mostly sells product to other companies. So it's kind of like, for people unfamiliar with the industry, it's something like, you know, Bluetooth, where it's like in a bunch of products, but you don't really contact them directly. But the difference is we've started making software that we do sell to end users. So it started out with Dante Virtual Sound Card, which just turned your computer into a Dante device, basically. And then sort of moved on from there to more management systems and platforms and all sorts of craziness that we're kind of doing now, which we can talk about later.
Yeah, you know, it's nice that you have a lot of great Dante software, but you also have Dante certification courses. It's 20,000 plus Pro AV integrators, basically like everyone at Infocom has been through these certification processes, and
it helps. We offer RTS credits for it. So
I see. I know our engineer went through all three levels. Our broadcast engineer, Mike, and now you even have an elective that you can take to learn more about Dante AV. So adding the video element to the entire audio system as well.
Yeah, we definitely have this elective that's Dante AV. Not the thing about Dante AV is, like, as you'll see throughout the day today, it works a lot like Dante Audio, but part of it is just to kind of understand the underlying technology a little bit, or if you're an audio person coming to it from a video side, being able to understand how compression codecs work, because that's a totally new thing for Dante. All of the audio is uncompressed audio, where video doesn't really fit on a 1 gig network if we're not doing compression. So lots of very cool stuff. And then some new design considerations, because even with the compression, it's still a higher bandwidth than audio. So where you need to kind of like think about bandwidth calculations and multicast management and all that good stuff for networks.
I like, you know, the way that Audiante has really built out these really robust certification programs, because, you know, looking at what you offer, it is very easy to use. You know, I mean, with the PTZOptics LINK 4K, which is Dante AVH enabled, you know, the idea is you literally plug it in, and the Dante tools that you're familiar with will allow you to route that video anywhere you want it. That can that's acceptable, that would be compatible, like exactly. Dante decoder or a display that works with Dante. So you've made it very plug and play, ease of use perspective, but the tools that you have, and we're going to dig into some of these tools like the Dante Controller and the Domain Manager and the Video Viewer and Studio, they really give you some granular control that I haven't seen in other IP video protocols that we work with.
Yeah, I think that's really the goal of what we do, is to kind of facilitate the fact that networks are growing larger and larger, and that sometimes like, you need that routing matrix that lets you see everything at once. That way you can kind of figure out your system. But also, like, once your network gets too big for that, you want a way to break that up, which is where like Dante Domain Manager can come in, as well as providing alerts. I know I used to work at a school, so as a technology director, and definitely like knowing if the room's in a working state before there's a class happening is amazing. And really, we've taken advantage of everything the network has to offer, for sure.
Well, I like that, and I'm hoping we can dig a little bit
Oh yeah.
into some of I don't want to go a complete deep dive. So basically in 8 minutes
Right.
after the podcast, we're going to do the live show, and that's going to have a lot of
Don't wanna give away
demos.
too much.
And we don't want to give away too much, but I
Mhm.
do want to deep dive a little bit into your controller when we get there, because I'm seeing so much that I haven't dug into myself yet that I've love seeing, like latency monitoring and video routing and audio sample rates, some of the things that you don't see access to. But I'm guessing you guys have a little bit of a deeper connection, or you have a deep connection with your Pro AV partners, because so many of them have been through these certification courses that you're comfortable giving them these pretty advanced and powerful tools.
Yeah, I'd say like Dante Controller is probably one of the best free networking tool, like network monitoring tools that exists out there on the market. Very few other tools like have a latency diagram that's telling you like when the packets are arriving, that sort of thing, for your audio and video flows, as well as like when we're talking about audio being in sync, like the clock histogram to like make sure like that's, matching the clock leader, as well as like bandwidth monitoring and all sorts of things in Dante Controller. And it's like this totally free tool for you to use, as well as like the ability to make like presets of your systems. You can always restore it to a working state, or if you have like different setups you need to do for a room, like maybe, sometimes this room is in surround, sometimes it's in like 10.2. So that's really cool, as well as updater with like getting firmware updates through a single app for all of your Dante devices, and it tells you when there is one, so you're not like hunting down on the web every device. It's like a really in-depth program that initially seems quite simple because you can just click and you've got a connection, but there's so much in there.
Well, that's the one I want to dig into a little deeper. The some of this high level. What we also have here is we've got your brand new Dante Studio enabled, which I understand you're offering as a $10 subscription to gain access to the Dante Studio, which just high level. We won't dig deep into it, but it allows you to download this onto a computer to transmit your screen as a Dante video source on the network. But it also allows you to receive any audio source or video source that's available on the network with the Dante viewer. And that all is compatible with the Dante controller. So when I first started hearing all of this, Kat, I was like, what
like,
connects with this? But there's really not that much here to wrap our heads around. There's a video viewer, there's a video capture tool, and there is a controller for it all.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's more under the hood, but just like high level here, this controller, which is
low level,
the low level here, low level or high level, just not deep level, is the controller here will show every single Dante source on your network, whether it is a transmitter or a receiver, and essentially give you this giant matrix where you can say, send this here, send that there, send 10 things over there, 12 things over here. And so if you have this software, you can start routing things to all the different places that you might have, whether they're classrooms or conference rooms or live event spaces. Let me ask you this, with that much power, there's got to be a way to lock it down, right? I mean, you can't just have someone show up with Dante Controller and start controlling everything, right?
Yeah, so in Dante Domain Manager is like the professional way to lock it down, where you can like integrate it with your Active Directory system and all that kind of thing. But if you're just like a volunteer kind of group and you don't like want to spend the extra money, you still want the free tool, you actually can lock things with a pin in Dante Controller, which is pretty nice as well.
Good. Yeah, so the more I get used to this platform, which is so different from what I'm used to with NDI, the more I go, man, some of this is you got to get familiar with it, because with any new technology, any new software, it's like, okay, I got to reroute my brain to where all of these buttons are that I'm used to them being somewhere else, or wherever I intuitively think they should be. And the controller does so much that it's not unintuitive, but there's so much here that after you get over that learning curve, it starts to become very simplistic, I feel like, with the way you've built out this matrix of transmitters and receivers.
I absolutely agree with that. I used to set up in quite complicated recording studios as part of my other job, like Dolby Atmos and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, when we moved to Dante, it was like, at first you're like, oh gosh, what am I doing? But then with a little bit of training, suddenly you're like, wow, I actually have this is so much easier. I have to run so fewer cables. It just makes it way easier to do than it used to be, for sure, once you initially get your head wrapped around it, for sure.
Well, I'm hoping we can give some people some high level, some of our viewers here, a high level look at all of this. And I remember for me and Tess, I'm guessing it was 5 or 6 years ago when we first announced NDI capabilities with the cameras. And I feel like a lot of people, it was very new at the time. And we didn't, we weren't sure what people were going to do with it. I feel like we're sort of on the beginning stages of a surfboard on a wave kind of thing.
That's
where we're not quite standing on the surfboard yet.
We're getting there.
Now Dante's a big snowball, and you guys have been rolling down the hill and gaining speed, as you said, with more and more manufacturers and more certified resellers, and you have a really great ecosystem. But for us, we're just jumping on board. So I don't know if I'd love to know from our audience, who's in the live chat, if this is new to you or if you have experience with Dante. Tess and I have been learning a lot about it, so I'll say it's not new to us yet. We're
still pretty new to me.
We've dipped our toes in, and this is going to be a really great chance for everybody to get a nice high-level overview of how Dante can fit into a variety of audiovisual solutions. And one of them being broadcast and streaming. That's obviously one that we care a lot about, and we're interested in how that'll tie in, especially if you're doing live events.
Yeah, definitely.
And that space. Another is education.
And we want to fit into people's existing audio systems. So we're hoping that the cameras could just be an addition to the infrastructure that they already have in place, since Dante is so common in some of these spaces.
That's a good point. And, there is a rumor out there, Kat, that Dante and NDI don't play nice together, but I understand that there is a way to use both on the same network.
Are we going to test
Can we
today?
clear the air on that one?
Yeah, I think sometimes it just requires different management on the switch to make that happen. Obviously, our video is designed to play nicely just immediately with the Dante audio, but for sure, either segmenting it with different VLANs if you need to. I think at this point, a lot of the industry is already in that place of understanding networking in that way, where some segmentation is okay, as well as just kind of different management, making sure that you have multicast management on, and making sure that you're managing QoS, which is quality of service, which prioritizes Dante clock packets for the audio, because unlike video, when audio is out of sync, it makes an awful sound. So yeah, it's a little different, different beast, but yeah. So that's kind of why I think people maybe were just trying to use them in an unmanaged way, and then didn't, think oh, maybe if I did a couple things to my switch, I could actually use them together. I believe that the new Netgear AV switches, which are great if you're just trying to quickly set up a network, especially for live events and that sort of thing, where they have a profile that's NDI and Dante. So if you have NDI products and want to use Dante audio, they've got you covered.
Nice. Well, and I will say, Audiante has a wonderful amount of support that they provide on top of the layer of certifications that are really robust. So, there are a lot of ways to use this, and I salute you guys for being out ahead of the IP audio world, and now the IP video world way before mass adoption, but now it's kind of coming there. So we're excited. It's just about 20 seconds till our live stream. So we're going to roll the intro clip and we'll see you in a minute, Kat.
Cool.
Thanks, guys. See you in just a minute.
See you guys soon. All right. Oh, look at that beautiful camera. That is the
Gorgeous.
brand new PTZOptics LINK 4K, shown with a PTZOptics camera, by the way. I don't know how you tuned that to look so beautiful, Mike. Congratulations. But yes, we are showing the brand new PTZOptics LINK 4K today. This is our Dante-enabled PTZ camera, which will make your Dante workflows now video enabled. So everything you're doing with Dante today from an audio perspective can now integrate seamlessly with video. And PTZOptics is excited to be partnered with Audiante to bring that all to reality here. We're going to be shipping these cameras in the next couple weeks.
That's right.
So
Just a few weeks.
it is really time to start talking about these cameras and telling, your partners and you get your pre-orders in, because these are going to be shipping very soon and they are in high demand. So Tess has put together a really good presentation today. For those of you who do not know what Dante is, we're going to high level talk about Dante and then the new Dante AV, which is essentially their video high efficiency version of Dante. It's an IP video production protocol put into the PTZOptics LINK 4K cameras, very similar to the PTZOptics Move 4K cameras from a feature standpoint. These are 4K cameras with SDI, HDMI, IP video control, PoE, available in 12x, 20x, and 30x optical zoom lens models, so we can fit these into a variety of small, medium, and large size spaces.
Don't forget auto tracking.
It has built-in auto tracking. It does not require additional software to automatically follow a subject. It has presenter lock in the auto tracking technology, meaning we can lock into a specific subject and, regardless of other people on stage, automatically follow that person. So really cool camera. But what makes it even better, this LINK 4K has Dante AV installed in it. And that means not only can it send 4K video, it can do 1080p too, 720, but 4K video via Dante AV, it can also send and receive audio over Dante.
Boom.
So
and that's something we just learned recently.
we just learned
Pretty
that. So
exciting.
this is a full audio and video device that can be put on your network, routed with the familiar Dante Controller and Dante Software suite that you're familiar with. So to tell that story, we have invited Kat from Audiante. She's here with us to walk us through some slides. And then, of course, we're here live. We are live on YouTube, so please ask your questions and we will answer them. Tess even has a Zoom call open.
We do, and I did put the Zoom call in the chat. So for anybody that wants to join, I will link to that again, because we're going to have a Q&A after our presentation and demonstration today where you can ask your questions to us live. And for those of you that are new here, we are PTZOptics Live. We're live the last Wednesday of the month at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, bringing you all of the latest and greatest in audiovisual technology. So we're happy that you're here. Make sure you say hi in the chat.
All right. I would love to know from those of you watching who is familiar with Dante already. If you're not, check out Audiante.com. I'm sure we have the link somewhere in the description. Dante has been known for IP audio for a very long time, integrated into hundreds of manufacturers and devices out there. And now they're introducing, with PTZOptics in partnership, a video enabled IP device that will seamlessly integrate in all of their tools. So I will let Catherine tell us a little bit about who Audiante is and what Dante is to kick this off.
Welcome, Kat.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. For those that are watching, can you introduce yourself and then tell us a little bit about
Sure.
Audiante and Dante?
Course, yeah. So I am Kat. I am the product marketing manager for our networked video solution. So I deal with all sorts of messaging and figuring out how to talk about Dante video products, whether that's the software or whether that's the technology that gets built into cameras and encoders and decoders. So like what PTZOptics have with Dante AVH and the Link 4K camera.
Yeah.
Woohoo. Now, Dante AVH is a really cool technology that is built directly into the PTZOptics Link 4K cameras. We're going to be looking at that, so we can almost jump into a live demo. But I wanted to get your take on Dante AVH and get the official kind of what is it here, because it's basically a video stream. It is separate from a Dante audio stream. So when we look at the Dante Controller, you're going to see off of a PTZOptics Link 4K camera, you're going to get a video feed, which can go up to 4K, but you can also get a right and left audio channel from these cameras.
Mhm.
So Dante AVH is specifically the video feed coming off of the PTZOptics Link 4K, right?
Well, so Dante AVH is technically the technology that gets built into cameras like the Link 4K. So it's a software technology that incorporates both a video flow, which controls sort of the underlying H.264 RTSP flow, which allows you to route it in Dante Controller, as well as 2 channels of Dante audio that you just kind of get in there for, for fun, I guess.
Nice. Okay. So Dante AVH is highly efficient. I'll ask, it has to do with bandwidth. Maybe we'll talk about that as we jump into the software. But you have a little presentation that I want to walk through high level to give people an idea of what Dante is and who Audiante is. So welcome to our webinar, guys. Kat and I are going to walk us through this, introducing the PTZOptics Link 4K. Your Dante workflow, which is mainly audio based, is about to get a lot easier with video. This has got
tagline.
Cameras. Thank you. It's 4K up to 60 FPS. It has HDMI, it has SDI, it's got USB, and it's got Dante AVH. The auto tracking that Tess mentioned, which we are happy to demonstrate if you guys haven't seen the auto tracking, comes in 12x, 20x, 30x lenses, our 5-year warranty with all of our cameras, and of course, lifetime support from PTZOptics. This is a brand new product of ours. So one of the things I like to mention is that our engineers are going to be adding new firmware updates to this. This is a brand new platform. We like to keep these cameras, we build on these platforms for at least 5 years. So this is going to be a really big product that can help you guys. So who is Audiante, Kat? You're headquartered in Sydney, Australia.
Yeah, so we were founded by a couple of network engineers in Sydney, Australia. And they're really network engineers that had an interest in the AV industry and looking to kind of redefine the way that people do live events. And we'll kind of walk through some slides on that in a few minutes. But the main goal was that we wanted to develop Dante as a 100% interoperable solution for all AV manufacturers. When we made the move from analog to digital audio, basically what happened was you no longer had interoperability between products, and like every product had their own cable that only worked with other products like that. So we wanted to really make something that all the products would work together on one interoperable platform. So getting into this is kind of a lot. Yeah. This is kind of a lot. Basically, we make products for manufacturers, both ways to implement just audio into products, whether that's a hardware module or chip, or whether that's a software. So if someone's running like Linux on the background of their product, we can integrate Dante just directly into that software. And then the same thing for video products, where we have the Dante AV product Ultra, which is a hardware product, as opposed to Dante AVH, which we're here to talk about today, which is sort of a software implementation, which is really cool for manufacturers because it means it's way easier to implement into already existing products and designs. So, if you have, a camera that's already doing IP video, it's really easy to then turn it into a camera that does Dante IP video. So the adoption here, we have a pretty large ecosystem of audio manufacturers, about 500 plus, and we have about 30 plus video OEMs and ODMs, so those are people that make video products for other folks, as well as over 3,500 Dante-enabled products and tons of certified users. So we'll talk about the training a little more in depth later, but lots of people familiar with Dante for sure. That's just kind of an example.
Ooh, where's our logo on there?
Somewhere. I know that
Yeah,
you're
well,
popular in
we need to add them.
education,
Yeah.
live events, commercial installs, and broadcasts. So I'm excited to show a 3D diagram that our team put together here. This
I
is
like
on our
this.
website to show kind of the familiar PTZOptics LINK 4K in there. That's the 12X used in a conference room setting where there's
Yeah.
a joystick controller on the network, a Dante-enabled DSP with a microphone, speakers, and amplifiers, just to show kind of, you actually have some really good diagrams in here, but let me ask you about your engineering and your training and support.
Yeah, so the idea is that we do a lot of the engineering so that manufacturers don't have to like spend a ton of time doing the implementation, as well as helping manufacturers implement Dante into products. We have a huge training program. We have like training in like I think it's 8 different languages or something like that. And trainers across the globe. So whether it's online, you want to take our free training, or whether you want to attend a class, I know we're doing some training at Infocom that's hands-on, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
And then we also have support. So from sort of manufacturer design implementation to also end user support. So if you're having an issue with any of our software, or you just need like help kind of figuring out your Dante system, you're not really sure. Sometimes we can like coordinate between manufacturers and help get the system, the situation resolved, as well as professional services for more like in-depth design review and that sort of thing. So yeah, we offer a lot of services, and those teams are growing by far. You can change it now.
It's so good to see that, because it is
Yeah.
necessary when things are this, new to the market. And this is just a high level slide. I really like what you've got here, basically kind of explaining how HDMI, XLR, SDI, some of these traditional video cables were point to point. And in this day and age now, once you move to a network solution, you can route it anywhere on your network. You don't need to move cables. You just need to click on your mouse.
Yeah, and the best is you can send like one signal to multiple places without having to like have a distribution box, which is pretty cool. That's
Yeah,
one of
I mean, there's
the big
definitely
ones for sure.
hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even billions spent on matrix switchers and
Mhm.
splitters and devices, which are quick fixes, but are ultimately less flexible. So I'm a big
Yeah.
believer in all of this. This slide, I think, really helps in the live event space understand what you've done. And I understand this is really, at this point, no one is putting in these analog multi-core systems.
Yeah,
Instead,
some
are they
like
still?
smaller venues still
Okay.
are, but anything that's large is gonna go to networked, whether it's Dante or another protocol, because trying to do more than a couple channels of analog audio, and especially doing anything over distance, those like old analog cables, like with the XLR on them, they pick up noise so easily. So replacing that with a digital technology certainly allows you to do a much bigger show. So this is kind of showing we've replaced the analog cable with a digital snake, like I was talking, those proprietary cables from every manufacturer, but you're not really getting the networked effect here. So then when you add the network effect, then you're able to add in, not just your mixing console to the stage box, but you can add in computers to that network. You can add in like external like broadcast streaming. You can add video on that network. You can add recording on that network with like PCIe cards or just software with Dante Studio. I'm not sure what else fills in here, but
Yeah, no, I mean, this is the network effect. I think you've explained it pretty nicely here. Now you've got your camera. Now you've got your decoders, which are taking the camera video and showing it up, and everything is in sync. And you've even got Wi-Fi here as well.
Yeah, a lot of mixing consoles have like Wi-Fi controls so that you can kind of like step away and see how sounds throughout the venue, which is pretty cool. As well as you can add in more channels, bigger consoles, basically just an insane amount of things you can do once you get things on the network.
I love it.
So this is kind of just another example of like, okay, we had 3 different cables to do one thing and they're all totally unrelated. So why are we using 3 different cables
Right.
for one signal? That seems silly. So then when we have the network, we're replacing all those sort of proprietary cables with just standard networking cables, and we can
I
have,
love
you
it.
know, our computers, our cameras, our audio equipment, whatever we need, just on the network
You know,
happily.
we have seen a shift to obviously IP video, but
Mhm.
the tools in which Dante are offering it and the breadth at which it's being adopted is almost unparalleled. So why don't, now that we've stepped back, we've seen all of this, do you want to explain kind of what it really is, if you want to summarize it?
Sure, yeah. I think that, you know, Dante isn't just like an audio video transport. It's really about the control standardization. It's about management standardization. It's also, you know, just kind of going to really be easy to use is kind of one of the goals. You could have audio video passing in your system in minutes, but if you do have a more advanced situation where you're trying to go like long distances with your audio and video or that sort of thing, we also offer that, as well as flexible audio and video signal splitting, which we talked about.
Now, on top of all of that, right, everything we just looked at, now here comes video, right, which is
Yeah.
Dante AV and Dante AV-H. So what
Yeah.
this is doing is taking all that interoperability between the manufacturers, all that
Mm-hmm.
compatibility with all the different products, and making it all work with the tools that tens of thousands of audiovisual integrators are familiar with, hundreds of thousands of customers have implemented out in the field. And Dante AV and Dante AV-H is really much more flexible, and it's much more
Yeah.
scalable than some of the things that so many people are still using today, like HDMI, like USB, and providing really, you know, something that can work on a standard network, something
Yeah.
that doesn't require, you know, a specialized GPU from NVIDIA. This works pretty much with most standard computers.
Yeah, so Dante VH, you know, if you're bringing it into software with Dante Studio, will work on most computers. Obviously, the better the computer you have, perhaps the better performance you'll get as far as like latency and that sort of thing. But will work kind of anywhere. So yeah. So where
So
we really see Dante AVH kind of playing in is use cases where you are working with computers. Some of our technology is more like very much hardware-based solutions. Um, but Dante AVH really fits into kind of those modern workflows in conferencing where we're doing video conferencing and we want to have multi-room video distribution or streaming our corporate events or any sort of live event to the web, as well as higher education with hybrid learning becoming really popular, or lecture capture, or event in studio production. We have some ways to make Dante really easy to use with some stuff I'll talk about later, where you can just like click a button and change sources, not even in Dante Controller if that's too confusing. Someone else can set it up, creating overflow spaces really with ease. So that's kind of where we see that coming. So just as a higher ed example, you know, we're adding in the camera. We can add in, you know, Dante AV decoders. We can encode the computer. You'll see I have like a little control panel, which allows sort of those. We don't expect every user to be able to use Dante Controller. That's really a tool for the person that's setting up and configuring the system. So we've recently introduced an API that allows you to kind of integrate Dante switching and routing into third-party devices. So whether that's a controller that you might see in a conference room or in a classroom, or whether that's like a stream deck that you might use in a studio.
very cool. Now, there's a lot of slides here, so I mean, it'd be interesting to go through all of these, but I think what we want to
Oh,
do is allow people to get this information, um, perhaps in a follow up, because we're going to do a live demo. But
yeah,
let's jump to the software, because I want to make sure we definitely dig into all
yeah.
of this.
So starting with Dante Controller, it's really this free tool, easy to use. It's does a lot. It's for both routing and configuration of Dante devices. So free, easy to use interface for that one click kind of routing that we see up on the screen there. Also, Dante Controller provides automatic discovery. We're able to customize the names of our devices. So I'm always a big stickler coming from sort of a large institution where devices were in specific rooms. We'd kind of name them with the room and we'd name them with what they do so that other people can use the system. You can also view, things like latency, clock stability, bandwidth usage. There's also presets, which are a really easy way to kind of, if someone's going to accidentally mess up your system, you can just restore it really easily with a preset. So you don't need to go over and refigure out routing. You just kind of upload it and you're good to go.
Well, I'm a big fan of live demos and throwing people off a little bit on their PowerPoint. So let's jump into it, because I want to show what I've got here really quickly, and then because you're going through it, and I'm like, let's actually just do it.
Let's do it. Yeah.
So you see 4 screens here because I've got 4 things going on. I want to just show everybody like the full of what we're doing. So this is the Dante controller, but just at a high level, you guys can see over here we have the Dante viewer on the right hand side, and that is viewing the video from our Link 4K camera. And then down here in the bottom right, I actually just have the Link 4K camera here. And that's the interface to the PTZOptics camera. And at the bottom, we have the studio. So just a high level, we're going to look at the controller first. And no, that's not the controller. Here we go. So let's walk through this together. Kat, so this is kind of the routing tab.
Yeah, so that's the routing tab. So you'll see all of your sources across the top, and then you'll see anything with sort of a receive channel down the left-hand side. And basically, so you can see like the audio channels, the send and receive audio channels. Some devices have both send receive, and some are just, one or the other.
So let's take a look at the back of the PTZOptics Link 4K quickly, because it's interesting to me. You got your video feed here, and you've got your 2 audios, and then you've even got an audio receiver here. So you can see here that the PTZOptics Link 4K has the network port there. Let's stay on that for just one sec, Mike. That's a power over Ethernet port that can be used to control the camera, power the camera, and now send Dante video out. But what it can also do is it can encode the audio coming into the 3.5 millimeter line in, and it can decode audio coming out of the line out. So I just wanted to show that quickly, because when we look at the Dante controller, it maybe makes a little bit more sense why you're seeing on the transmitter side, we can transmit video and 2 channels of audio. And then on the receiver side, we have the ability to receive audio from the network as well. So once this is on the network, you can see here we're routing the video to our Dante video viewer, but there might be 20 classrooms or something that we suddenly want to route this to, and those would show up in the receiver section, just at a high level, right?
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so why don't you take us on a tour of this now? Sorry, I just wanted to get the basics out of the
no
way.
worries. So right now you're on the routing tab, which is where we're going to do all of the routing. Some tips and tricks I like to do in this tab. If you have if you've named the devices, you can do a search for them. So if you do have a multi-room installation, and you've named them oh, this is room 150, I could type in 150 and it would only show the devices that have that, in the... See, now we're just looking at the Link 4K, right? We're not looking at Dante Studio.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool. A good way to kind of simplify using that is when you kind of filter. If you go to we can go to a new tab here. The device info tab, maybe. That's just going to give you some information about your devices, like their address, and sort of, if you have devices that do redundancy, some audio devices do that, that would show up there as well. The next one is clock status, not really relevant to the camera, but for your audio devices, unlike video, like I said during the pre-show, I think, audio does need to be in sync otherwise with itself, with other audio sources on the network, because that way it'll go and it needs to be quite tightly synced. Video, on the other hand, doesn't need to be as tightly synced with audio to get lip sync. It's usually about plus minus 20 milliseconds is like more than enough to get lip sync. So that's kind of interesting. The network status is really nice because you can see, what's sending video on the network. We can see about what the bandwidth flow is. If there were any drop packets, I see we have like a little packet error, but that was probably just when we were turning on the camera. Sometimes that happens. So yeah, that's what that is. Or it's just because we need to fix Dante Controller. Yeah, so those are sort of the tabs there. If we go up toward like the buttons, the events can just kind of keep a little log. So that one just hides and shows that sort of like filtering menu there, which you can filter by what kind of devices you have. So I believe there's like an AV filter where you can filter like just Dante AV devices and that sort of thing, which is kind of nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So if you just want to do your video routing, you've already set up your audio. You can like get rid of all the audio devices and just do video routing. Yeah, so up at the top, the file folder and the star are related to presets, which is kind of cool. So if this was like a preset that we wanted to save, we could click on that and kind of save that preset and save multiple sort of features of that on our computer. And then next time we did the show, we could load that back in. Works for classrooms, conference rooms, whatever you're doing. I usually used to keep, like when I was an end user, a file of presets for all the rooms. So that way I didn't need to go in and reconfigure them. The other buttons that are kind of cool, that's just selecting your interface. And then the next one is, I can't remember what that one is.
It's okay. I think we did a pretty deep dive there.
Yeah. And then if you double click on the device, you bring up the device view, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, it's just kind of off to the side there. So that's where some like configuration can happen. For Dante AV, we don't have a lot of the video configuration yet built in, but that is planned. So hopefully you'll be able to do things like set your camera resolution and bit depth and frame rate and that sort of thing there as well.
Very cool. Awesome.
But that's where you'd set the name. And then the little like star icon is another cool one, which is the Dante updater, which is the firmware updater I kind of talked about earlier, where you get an idea of like, oh, are there any firmware updates for any of my Dante devices on the network? And I can do that just from one place. So it's pretty nice. And I think something to be said about Dante Controller for those that aren't familiar with it, this doesn't need to stay on your system at all times. The devices themselves remember what devices that they are connected to. So next time you turn those devices on, they'll reestablish connection, whether or not you have controller open. It's really just like a tool for kind of like making changes, initial setup, or monitoring if you want to just like check everything's good.
Now, over here on the camera side of the world, this is our Link 4K camera here. One of the things that I wanted to show here in the audio video section is the video templates we have for Dante AVH. So we have our 4K option, our HD option, which are the two options that we're offering currently. Outputting, so you can kind of, maybe we'll offer more, but that basically will set up all of the streaming IP configurations for Dante AVH. And then when you get this camera, obviously it has all of the information here about how to turn on and off the auto tracking, for example, and all of the PTZOptics camera control options that we offer. So it's a really nice way to have the PTZOptics camera control options and the Dante IP, video tools really working together here. It's pretty cool. So we talked about controller. Now let's take a look at Studio. This is the newer kind of video tools that you offer.
Yeah. So basically, we started out with a tool for audio for the computer, which is Dante Virtual Sound Card. Probably anyone that's familiar with Dante is familiar with. Basically, just takes your Dante audio, allows you to bring it right into your computer, into an application. Or send from your computer out to the Dante network. This is the same thing, but for video. It's a pretty new product, so we're still kind of in the process of tweaking things like pricing and features. So definitely stay tuned for this because I think there are some like exciting announcements coming up, not related to Infocom, but after that. So it has three kind of things it can do. one, it can send video from your computer out to the network. So that's really cool if you want to send it to decoders, or if you want to send it to like another computer, like if you have a presentation running on one computer and you want to send it to another computer to record. Right now, this is only using the JPEG 2000 codec. We'll get the H.264 version or the Dante AV version soon. It's just currently just for that. The other features of it are the receiver side. So if you click on the receive tab, that one's probably more interesting to us today.
Yeah, let's take a look at that.
Yeah, so there, basically the receive has sort of two options. One is the Dante Video RX, which allows you to receive video directly into applications from Dante AV sources on the network. So that's like if I'm doing streaming, I can open up OBS, select video device, and select Dante Studio as a video device. So I can stream directly into OBS that way. Or if I'm in a Zoom call, I can select it just as a video device. Anything within basically, what's it called? A direct show interface. Direct show interface can select Dante Studio as a video input. And then Dante Video Viewer, which is kind of a standalone application. You do have to open this up first, but it's standalone application that we're looking at tests over there. Basically, that allows you just to kind of view any videos on your computer as well. So we can use that for lots of things, whether that's just like if you want to be able to view performances or video from events in like green rooms or control rooms. We could really easily create overflow spaces. One really cool thing about Dante Studio is it runs on like the Intel modules that you can, if you have like a Windows Intel module for a display, you can run Dante Studio on that and just like create a full screen display, Dante AV digital signage, or, you know, overflow or something like that, as well as use it for support. If you're doing like classroom support and you need to actually see what's going on in the classroom, you could take that camera feed remotely from somewhere and see what's going on.
Nice.
Very nice. All right. So it looks like everything is working really well over here for us. So one of the things I'm really excited about is to see professional audiovisual integrators who are trained, certified, familiar with the Dante system to get their feet wet with Dante Video. And I'm really excited about seeing that happen. We actually covered everything we wanted to, I think, Tess, in our setup. We did want to mention, and I think we did this in the podcast, that there is a new free training from Dante on the video side of this now. Is it an elective that you offer?
Yeah, so in addition to our 3 sort of Dante certification levels, we also have a Dante AV elective. So the Dante AV elective is kind of new. We're probably going to rewrite some of it a little bit later this summer as well. But basically, if you're new to video, if you're a Dante user already and maybe adding video to your workflow is new to you, that's going to be where you can go, get all of the updates on Dante Video, about the solutions, how they work, how video works in general. And I mean, as you've seen today, using the Dante video products is really similar to using Dante audio products. So really the main difference is just kind of understanding the differences between audio and video.
Very cool. Well, this really feels like the future of AV over IP in my mind. We've got this beautiful look at the Dante AV-H camera there. And you know, it's really built on the latest platform. It's our award-winning platform that we built this Dante Link 4K camera on top of. So I'm very excited again to see it. Tess, I feel like there's got to be some questions that we need to answer at this point.
They're starting to come in. We've got a question about audio and video synchronization, and if you see any problems there, how to manage that with the Link 4K.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
We can kick things off with that.
So basically it's not going to be automatic, as most video technologies aren't. But basically, typically what you'd want to do is if you're noticing an issue with lip sync, like it's not, the audio and video just aren't automatically aligning. Sometimes it kind of comes in and you're like, oh, that's actually not so bad. But basically what you can do is add a delay either to your mixing console or to a DSP, depending upon your application. So mixing console, more like a live sound application, DSP, more like a conference room. That just kind of sets it to align the audio and video together. So it's fairly simple.
Nice. That's a good question. The again, it might be worthwhile for me to show some of the features of the Link 4K because it is such a brand new camera. One of my favorite features, of course, is the auto tracking feature. So I just wanted to show this. Let's say I wanted to track me. One of the things that you would do, and this is the same for whether you're working with a presenter. And what I'll do is I'll pull up the Dante video viewer here too. So the web UI doesn't have quite as high a quality video as the Dante video here. But if I turn on, one of the things I want to do here is show you that if you set preset 0 to a certain location, that is where it'll pick up its auto tracking. So if we set preset 0 here, it starts tracking. It's going to start tracking me. And I just want to show this really quickly here.
Now I'm going to cause some disruption back here, but the camera is not going to lose Paul, and that's what's really cool about the Link 4K and the Move 4K as well. Is it's going to lock onto your single presenter, and that's why that preset 0 is really nice too. So you can have it at a podium or a lecture station and make sure it goes to where you want it to go every time.
Now, there's some new features that I know a lot of our customers have been asking for. One of them is to show the bounding boxes. So you can see
Why
here,
not?
this will actually show you the box that of what the camera's seeing. So if I do this demo again here.
It'll show you who has been selected. And you can toggle that on or off when you're in the process of selecting who you want the camera to track.
And that's just kind of so you can have an idea of what the camera's seeing. The other thing you can do is you can switch between presenters. So you can switch between presenters. And another really cool feature with this camera, I'm going to turn the tracking off, is it does support 16x magnification of digital zoom. So it really can zoom in, especially if you're in 1080p mode. We can zoom in really far here. Let's see here. Let's put this. I'll zoom into this clock over here, and you'll see. Whoa. See how far we can zoom in here. And that clock is pretty far away from the camera. So just to give you an idea, I think this is a 20x optical zoom camera. And if I wanted to use the 4K video, maybe I would just put the maximum magnification at 2x. But if I was using it in 1080p mode, 2x digital zoom would still keep us in 1080p video there. So pretty cool stuff. Auto tracking, pan tilt zoom, integration with vmix and OBS and a lot of the really popular software. It'll actually integrate with Zoom as well from a remote PTZ camera control setup perspective. These cameras can stream directly to Facebook, YouTube with RTMP. Also supports SRT. We have a really cool profile setup, which will allow you to have multiple profiles for the cameras. So you could have a camera for a studio, for a classroom, for outdoors, for example. You can dig into a lot of the network settings. And then also, the cameras themselves also have a local web server. So when you connect to the network, all you have to do is go to PTZOptics.local. And you don't even need to know the IP address of the camera, and it'll pull it up, and you can configure that as well. So just want to go over some high level features of the Link 4K and answer some questions while we have a little
got this
Q&A
one a
now.
couple times. Does this camera also have NDI? Like, can you use both, or do you need the Move 4K for NDI and the Link 4K for Dante?
Yes. So as of right now, the Link 4K is Dante only. The Move 4K is NDI only, and they are not interoperable to have licenses swapped and moved. It's possible that could happen in the future, and we'll have to see. But today, as far as what we're allowed to say, what is possible is the Link 4K is Dante, the Move 4K is NDI.
Okay. And if somebody wanted to raise their hand on the Zoom chat and chime in, you're also welcome to do that. We are live in the Zoom call together, so we'd like to invite you to chat if you have any questions. Otherwise, I think we're good.
Cool. Well, Catherine, thank you so much for joining us. It's really been a pleasure. I'm really excited to see you at InfoComm.
Yeah,
In a
I
couple
will be
weeks.
there.
So I'm excited to see you there. Excited to really release this camera into the wild. It's going to be shipping in the next couple weeks. So I'm very excited for everyone out there to try these out, to really, if you haven't started using Dante, you should really start looking into it. If you're using Dante, I'm sure this makes a lot of sense to you. And it's starting to make a lot more sense to me. I'm new to Dante. And I'm really enjoying
Same.
what I'm seeing. The tools are very full featured, and it doesn't take a genius to realize why it's so effective and why so many people are seeing the praises of Dante out there. You've done a great job building the ecosystem, and it's only going to get better from here.
Dean wants to know how to make his G2 cameras have auto tracking.
Okay, that's a good question. So all of the PTZOptics Move cameras, meaning the Move SC and the Move 4K, have built-in auto tracking, but the PTZOptics Gen 2 cameras can gain auto tracking with a free piece of software that we have available for both Mac and PC. It's called the PTZOptics Camera Management Platform, or you might find it more easily as the PTZOptics CMP. And I believe the web address for that is ptzoptics.com/CMP.
Got that in the chat for you guys.
And you can download that for free right now for Mac or PC. And you can gain access to it, and it will give you auto tracking capabilities for your Gen 2 camera. All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Thank you so much for joining everybody today. PTZOptics is always here to help. We have full-time support staff here who will answer your questions. So if you have any questions, you can chat us on our website. You can give us a call. You can send us an email at partners@ptzoptics.com. And you can join our community. We've got a vibrant community Facebook group and community.ptzoptics.com. It was a knowledge base that we maintain and support, where you get all the latest information about the new features that the engineers are churning out at a really great speed. And it all comes from you guys. So your feature requests we take to the engineers, and eventually they do get implemented. So we'd love to hear from you guys about what you think is the features you need, because eventually they do get put into the cameras. So thank you for watching, everybody. And I guess that's it, Tess.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. And a special thank you to Catherine from Audiante for joining us today. We'll see you the last Wednesday of June. Enjoy your summer.
Bye, everybody.